Welcome to Now You're Talking, the podcast where stories spark connection and conversations open doors to deeper understanding. I'm your host, Adrienne Giffen. Today, Caroline Grubb asks me questions and takes you behind the scenes of my own journey, one that began with the writing of my book, Unravel You, and unexpectedly led to the creation of the Now You're Talking board game. Along the way, I discovered that adversity has the power to transform us, that storytelling can heal us, and that true growth often comes from moments we least expect. This episode is about more than just writing a book or designing a game. It's about reclaiming identity, celebrating resilience, and asking the questions that reconnect us to ourselves and to one another. In a world dominated by screens and digital noise, I invite you to pause, lean in, and reflect on your own story. Because sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is simply ask, what makes me dance? Please subscribe, review, and rate this podcast. Let the conversations begin. Now you're talking. Caroline, thank you very much for joining me today as my guest and my interviewer. Caroline and I met about 6 years ago in an online community and became fast friends. And even though we have many, many miles between us, Caroline knows me very well and has been along this journey and has very graciously accepted my request. Would you please interview me?
Absolutely. And I'm delighted to be asked. Thank you, Adrienne. And I'm excited to turn the tables on you as well and let your audience get to know you a little bit more. I'm very excited to put you on the spot as well in the nicest possible way.
Thank you. So what do you want to ask me, Caroline?
So you've been doing this podcast now for a little while. It's called Now You're Talking. And I know that it's based around a board game called Now You're Talking. And so I thought it'd be really interesting for your viewers to understand just a little bit of the history behind the board game, the podcast, and everything that you're doing out in the world, because you've also written a book as well. So just wanted to go into a little bit of the backstory behind how this all came about. Perhaps we can start off by just telling us a little bit about the board game and where the idea for creating a board game actually come from.
Well, it came from writing my book. And my book is called Unravel You, and it's going to be available at the end of September of this year. It took me about 3 years to get it to this point, and it was one of the most transformational experiences of my life. If I can encourage anybody who's listening, if you ever have an opportunity or you've ever wanted to write a book, I encourage everybody to do that. Quite an amazing process. When I started, I had no idea I was going to create a board game. It wasn't until I submitted the first manuscript for my book that I thought, I feel like the weight of the world's off my shoulders. I have 2 weeks. I think I'm going to see if I can create a board game. And to give you a little bit of background, my book starts in high school. When I was in high school, I went to school with Laura Robinson, and Laura was the co-inventor of Balderdash. And Balderdash is a well-known game.
We get it over here in the UK too.
When Laura created it and successfully got it out there, I thought one day I'm going to do a board game. But I didn't ever connect the dots to think that I would need to write a book first in order to make that happen.
So what's the connection between the book and the board game? Are they related in any way?
Well, they are. So my book starts in high school and, or those impressionable years, high school being part of the impressionable years. And I believe strongly that in order to figure out who we are, we have to understand where we've come from. And that's why the book is called Unravel You. It came from my own personal experience, life experience. It also came from my professional experience as an executive recruiter. As an executive recruiter, we work with a process out of Chicago called top grading. And we've asked, and I say we, my husband and me, we've asked hundreds and hundreds of candidates about their high school experience. Because grading believes things that happen in high school repeat throughout a person's career. But we've come to realize that what happens in high school repeats throughout a person's lifetime in every aspect of that person's life. So Unravel You starts at the impressionable years, but then really goes through life and talks about the stages of adversity and what happens with adversity. And does adversity turn into growth and change, or do you stay stuck in adversity? It looks at the roles and who we have been in our lives and how that all contributes to ultimately the decisions we make today.
And what was it that sparked your idea to actually even start writing the book? What was the trigger for that moment?
Well, I was deciding between over 20 years ago, I was deciding between two job offers. And a good friend of mine, Kath, she said, Aid, come to one of the Gulf Islands and you will figure it out. Come and stay with me for the weekend. Bring your dog and you will figure it out. So my dog Rox and I were walking through the rainforests on Gambier Island, a beautiful place to be. And I did hear a voice in my head saying, that sounds crazy, but loudly and clearly, what makes you dance? And when I got back and told my friend about it, I said, Kath, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to do this particular role. And then later, over lunch and a glass of wine, I said to Kath, oh, no, I'm staying in recruitment. That's where I'm staying. And as a result of that, my life unfolded in the most magical of ways.
Really? So there was a moment, there was a crossroads, there was a fork
Yeah.
in the road, and it was that moment where you chose a particular fork and that's taken you on a journey. So how did that journey that you talk about in your book?
What makes you dance stuck with me. It's been a guiding light for me whenever I'm making big decisions. I ask myself, what makes you dance? Will this make me dance? And I thought one day I will write a book about this. It came to me that I had been behind a man with my first husband, supporting him in his career. And I've sat beside Bob in his career. And so it was time in my life to stand up and go forward on my own. And that's really the reason why I wrote Unravel You.
It was that moment where you stopped being everything to everyone else and started to ask, actually, what makes me dance? And what in that moment it was writing your story and sharing and exploring, because I know you went through that in itself was a massive journey for you with the process of
Yes.
actually writing the book. What's one thing that you learned about yourself through that process?
That was a humbling process. I learned that I'm resilient because it would have been in the short term way easier to quit because I never knew it was going to land on paper. It was enlightening and wonderful in some ways and frightening and scary in some ways. And sometimes I would think, and after I wrote, I can't keep doing this. This is too hard. But I did keep going. And so resilience and tenacity, I learned that. But my goal, though, Caroline, is to help other people, women, figure out what makes them dance. And my focus has been on women and moms because I lost myself as a mom raising children. I was either my husband's wife, my daughter's mom, my dog's owner, but somehow my name was gone.
So that the roles that you were playing in your life were not you. They were all related to your position relative to someone else.
Yes.
Wow.
So that's why I wrote my book, is to help other women discover what their true essence is and how they can best share their light in the world and help others to dance. Because I believe that when we share our light to somebody else, the world becomes a better place. And I want to help people find their light.
Find out what makes them dance and then go
Yes.
pursue that and be that out in the world, which is a beautiful mission. So tell us then, so that's what came out of your book. So it started as a bit of a self-discovery journey, turned into no, there's something in this and I actually want to use my story to help inspire other women to go on a similar journey. And so so your book has a couple of different chapters and it has exercises in it. So talk to us about how that's connected to the game and how the game came from the book.
So in my book, I share my story, and then I take the readers on a journey, and then it's about them, and it's about their turn to figure out their own individual answers to the questions I ask. So I'd say about 90% of the questions that are in my game are directly a result of my book. And So it is an accumulation of my personal life, my life as a mom, my life as a child growing up, as a teenager. It's my whole life experience professionally and and who I am in the world.
And that's amazing. And so now what's making you dance is to get your message of helping other women, but also your message about connection and conversation out into the world. Is that right?
Yes,
So where did the
yes,
name for the
because
game come from?
well, it wanted the name to be something we all say all the time. Okay, so now you're talking. So that like just that sort of everyday conversation that we all say. So I somehow it just came to me. And then it was available, which was amazing to me. So I grabbed it. I'm a mom of a blended family of 7. I have 6 grandchildren. So I see the world from that lens. And so when I see people and families always on their screens, I think, oh my goodness, this is not sustainable for us as human beings because we innately want to connect with one another. And so that's what Now You're Talking is all about. It's about connection. It's about putting down your phones and let's get talking again. And let's not small talk. Let's talk about stuff that's meaningful. Let's have fun. Let's interact. Let's learn from each other. Let's be inspired. So that's what it's all about.
And you've made it fun by gamifying it effectively and turning it into a game. So what's your intention
Yes.
behind this game? What do you want it to do for people and who's it for?
Well, so in this game, it's sort of a combination of snakes and ladders and the game of life. Not the actual game, but the game of life. Where on this game on the board, you go down with adversity, but you go up with growth and change. Such is life. So my intention is to have generations connect, have strangers become friends quite quickly. And I've been in that situation. And it's amazing. It's a fast track to friendship. Have friends get to know one another on a whole different level.
Amazing. And I can certainly say you've achieved that because I've played your game. I'm a big fan of it. I've got my own copy here and
I know all the way across the
all the
ocean.
way across the pond.
Fantastic.
And I literally, it lives in my camper van. Everywhere I go, this game comes with me because I look for opportunities to play it because the experiences I've had with it have been brilliant. Because I'm the same as you. I'm a nomad. I work online. I spend a lot of my time on my own, but connecting with people through screens. And
Yes.
so when I do hang out with people in person, I really want to, get quality connection time with those people. And that's
Hmm.
something that this, can be a fun way to introduce that. But actually, what I found when I played the game, there's a fun element to it. There's a slightly competitive element to it because there's a game and there's a goal to win. But actually, in the process of playing the game, you learn so much about the people you're playing with. And the couple of times I played it, we've come away going, wow, that was a really interesting evening. That was fun. That's memorable. I'm going to remember that night because of stuff that came out.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
So what in one of those times, Caroline, or that you've played, what's something that stands out?
Well, let me tell you a funny story. I played it at Christmas with my parents and my brother, and we were playing the game, and they were a bit hesitant at first. I'll be honest, going, "Oh, is this Caroline being like her woo-woo hippy dippy self again? Is she going to ask us like psychoanalyze us or anything?" But bless them, they went with it, and we actually had a really fun evening. And one of the highlights for me still now is that my parents, who've just literally celebrated their golden wedding anniversary, their 50 years of marriage last month, mum revealed a little secret about when she and dad were dating 50 years ago, about why she was late for one of their dates. And it wasn't the reason that she gave him back then. It was because
That's so
because
much.
she'd been a naughty girl
And
at
this
lunchtime.
and that was new news to
That
you
was
that your
huge.
mom.
She'd never
Wow.
told him. In 50 years, she'd never told him that the reason she was late for her date was because some people had got her a little bit squiffy on port and lemon at lunchtime.
Scriffy. What is scriffy? And
That's a
what is
very
that?
English term. Yeah, she'd
And that is a very English.
had some alcohol at lunchtime, and it had
Okay.
yeah,
A
it
little
had
tipsy.
tipsy. There we go. She was a little bit tipsy at work, so that delayed her finish time at work, and so she was late leaving work to get to her date with dad.
That's
And he
so
never
funny.
knew the
And it
real
took.
reason why.
Oh, that's so funny.
It was brilliant.
That's great.
It was
And
absolutely brilliant.
do you
Yeah,
do you talk about that now?
we do. Yeah, and mum
That's
gets the
funny.
giggles when we talk about it, which is hilarious. So that was a connecting moment as well,
Yes.
which was brilliant. So one of many.
That's great. And what has it been like for you to play with friends?
Yeah,
Can you tell?
interesting. I mean, I think it's such a versatile game because I've used it, I say, with family, and I've used it with friends. I met up with a bunch of I remember online communities, and we had a meetup in Portugal this summer, and I took it along then because it also acts as a bit of an icebreaker for people who are like acquaintances who kind of know each other, maybe been working together, but we had a social evening, and so yes, there were some more drinks involved. I don't think you need alcohol to be involved, but it certainly made it fun. And there was, what, 6 of us playing it, and we all sat around a table, and it was really revealing, and it was a real, I mean, they're beautiful people anyway, but they felt safe in that space to talk about stuff that they probably hadn't told their loved ones, or maybe even wouldn't feel comfortable telling their loved ones, but they just by talking about just some, nothing bad or anything, but just some experiences from their life, like whether that's adversity, moments of growth, role models, icons they look up to. Yeah, but you've got such a variety of questions. You never know what's going to come up. But the answers that people gave were sometimes really surprising. It's like, oh, I didn't know that about you, or learn about another part of their character, but
Yeah.
some people actually found it quite healing and cathartic to talk about stuff that had been on their mind or heart for years and they'd never told anyone, but just getting it out there, they felt
That's
seen, they
interesting.
felt heard, and so in a wonderful way, it was really quite, it was bonding, but it was healing in a way, which I didn't expect from a
That's
Snakes and
interesting.
Ladders board game. They all came away from that night saying, "Wow, that was such a memorable night. I'm going to remember that night forever." So
That's fantastic. That makes me feel so thankful for getting this inspiration because that just gives me joy that I'm able to give other people that experience through
definitely.
playing it. What did you? I'm always interested because I've had a few people say to me after that they continue to think about the answers.
Mm.
And how has that been for you?
Yeah, I think not so much for me because the kind of questions you ask, I've been in that sort of space for a while. I've asked myself a lot of those questions over the last 6, 7 years. I've been on quite a journey myself, and
Hmm.
so for me, a lot of them I can answer not quite easily, but I've got the answers already. But I also noticed, depending on who you play it with, as to how deep you go with your answers, you can give quite superficial answers, or you can give more vulnerable and real ones. But yeah, sometimes for me, it's not so much, or it hasn't been so much me pondering about questions I've been asked, but it's thinking about the answers other people have given, and just sort of reflecting on what that says about them, or what that mirrors in me. So it's definitely thought the.
Go, go. That's great. Oh, thanks, Caroline. So I would like to ask you a question, and then feel free to ask me any. I don't want to make this all one-sided.
No, we're gonna.
Yeah. So, how does who you are in the world compare with who your parents wanted you to be?
There's a question. Yeah, so I started off school. I was a good girl in school. I did well, studied well, got good grades, did all the things I was supposed to do, went to university, got a good degree, one that would get me a good job, got on the career ladder, did all the things I was supposed to do
Yes.
because that's what was expected of me. Or that's what I felt was expected of me from my parents, from the school I went to, from the society I grew up in. And I did well. I did on the outside. I achieved success. I had the good job. I had a flat of my own. I had a nice sports car, and I had a job that helped me, that took me around the world. And it all looked fabulous, but it wasn't really what lights me up. And so I had a bit of an epiphany, a bit of I lost my job. I got laid off 10 years ago now. And that for me was my opportunity to ask, like you did for you when you had that, what makes me dance? That was my
Hmm.
moment to actually step out of the
Yes.
world, the persona that I'd grown into, that I thought I was supposed to be, and actually stop and say, what does Caroline actually want? Who is Caroline?
Yes.
And who does she want to be? And what does she want in the world? What makes her dance? And I
Yes.
stopped dead and I sat and I did some navel gazing, and I ended up going off in a completely different direction, from IT consultant to cruise ship photographer. And then it's gone on. I mean, it's been last 10 years has been a beautiful journey. And it confronted my parents at first because they
Yes.
weren't ready or expecting that. But bless them, they're beautiful people and they support me. They didn't always understand what I was doing, but they were just like, "We trust you. We're a bit unsure." if there's anything we can do to help you. And I've been on this beautiful journey, and now they're really happy for me because they can see that I've blossomed into the kind of person that I knew I had inside me, but other people didn't
Yes.
see. And so now they're super proud of me. They still don't necessarily get all that I do and why I do it, and that's
Yeah,
fine.
right. Isn't it amazing though when adversity comes into our lives, like you losing your job, and we can choose to stay stuck in that, or we can choose to move forward in some way. It often guides us. In adversity happens for a reason,
Definitely.
often, and yeah, and so that was that's a prime example how you got closer to who you really are, not who your parents maybe expected you to be or would be comfortable. You continue to push, I must say, out of their comfort zone
I do.
as you grow.
And it's yeah, and I think it's been confronting for them, but it's been beautiful because it's impacted on them and my brother. The choices that I've made and the fact that I've followed my own heart has actually inspired
Yes.
them to do a bit more of the same and come out of their own shells and do things that perhaps they wouldn't have expected themselves to do. And so it's like you said, when we follow what makes us dance and shine that out into the
Yes.
world, it gives other permission to other people to do the same. Who is your inspirational role model and why?
Ah, my mom, for sure. My mom has my dad died many 30 years ago, over 30 years ago. My mom could have chosen to just stay stuck in that and stay in her grief, but she didn't. She chose to remake herself and became a lay preacher. And then she went on to just continue to grow and evolve. And she's not always agreed wholeheartedly with some of my choices, but then she would always come around because she loved me. So absolutely my mom. At 93, she continues to be an inspiration.
Wow. How amazing that you still got your mum with you as well. That must be beautiful.
Who's your inspirational role model?
Who's my inspirational role model? I've got loads. Who would I pick? I guess oh, yeah, there's tons. I'm going to pick Elizabeth Gilbert from Eat, Pray, Love. I'm sure you've
Yes,
heard,
I was gonna say
read the
yes.
book,
I recognize that. Yep, have
watched the movie.
watched the movie.
I think she just embodies the kind of person. I mean, she's gone way spiritual, and she's way more sitting in a cave and meditating for 10 days silently and that kind of stuff. I'm not that far gone, but just her when she had, suffered adversity and she went off to find herself and she went off traveling and she went off to was it Italy and then Bali and India, I think it was. And that's just spoke a lot to me because I love to travel.
Yes,
Just honoring her, the way she's dealt with relationships, the way she's faced herself, the way she's gone through life, and the way she continues to keep shining her light and keep exploring. She's constantly growing, constantly questioning, constantly exploring. It's funny. I haven't thought about her for ages, so I don't know where that came from. But yeah,
well,
there we go.
and I would say that that's exactly the journey you're on. When I think of, I think I said at the beginning, for 6 years, and there's been certainly an evolution through that time. So, and now you're getting closer and closer to who you really want to be, but it's been a process.
Definitely.
So I'm not surprised that she just came to your mind.
Yeah. Or on Instagram the other day, that might be why she's top of my mind. But yeah, because anybody like that, anybody who has the strength and the courage to go and ask the difficult questions and find the answers and continues to do that, because I don't think that we ever get there. We never, suddenly become our true self or suddenly find, peace or find the end, and that's it. Right, we've arrived. This is it. This is me. Because we're constantly
No.
life will then throw us the next curveball and the next piece of adversity to push us to the next level and the next level. And that's what I feel
Yes.
the journey I'm on is that constant. I just get somewhere and I think, yes, I made it. I've got here, or I know the answers. And then life goes, are you sure about that? I'm going to ask you.
I agree. I feel like I'm just getting started.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's never too late, is it, to find out who you were
You
meant to be? And
never know.
yeah, start dancing. All right. Can I ask you another question then?
Yes, certainly,
Right,
certainly.
let's ask you. I'm going to ask one from this pile. What title would you give your high school chapter? And please explain.
My high school chapter. And I'm still friends with lots of my high school friends today. Pure joy. I loved my high school time. And that's just the first thing that comes to my mind. My best friend is still from grade 5 is still my best friend. I loved it. I loved the sports. I loved the social. I loved it. I loved it, which I think is quite unique. I loved English and writing a book. That doesn't surprise me because I love that. I love being involved in sports and I'm still friends with a lot of my high school friends today.
Wow.
I don't know. Does that answer your question?
I think I love the answer, pure joy. Yeah. I want to know, was there a moment of joy that you specifically remember from your high school years?
Oh, it's just isn't that funny? I just have a reel of things going through my mind. I guess many, many times, but I I always had pure joy when I was with my friend Nance. I mean, she and I would battle and we would agree to always disagree and still even today. So now when we can't agree, we just go 15 love because we would be so competitive on the tennis court. We that always disagree about the score. We just now, even when we disagree to this day, 15 love. And then we just accept that we're agreeing to disagree.
What title would I give my high school chapter? Oh, there's 2 words or 3 words that come to mind. One would be good girl, and one
Good
would
girl.
be invisible.
Oh, such a different experience. So tell me more.
I mean, there was nothing particularly special or wrong about my high school. I went to an all-girls school and it was a good academic school. But I think I learned in that through those years to just keep my head down and just not be noticed, because then I could get away with doing kind of what I wanted to do. As long as I was a good girl, then not causing any trouble, nobody would look at me. And then behind the scenes, I could be free to be who I truly was. But yeah, so I learned to play the game and played it very well. But that invisibility came back to haunt me
Yes.
later in life, because then I felt invisible later in life and it wasn't such a good thing. So, yeah.
So given that experience, because we can let go of those experiences if we choose to, how has your high school experience impacted who you are today?
But it's interesting because I continue to be a good girl, I continue to play the game, as I said, I continue to succeed based on everybody else's expectations and what we call external validation, should we say, being validated by everyone around me. And then I said I lost my job. I went off and I became a cruise ship photographer. And I did that because I did some navel gazing, as I said, and found out that I loved to travel, love photography, love people, and I love motorsport. And I managed to get 3 of them into a job. So I got paid to travel the world, make people smile for a living through photography, which I loved because I got to be me and I got to do what I'm best at and what I enjoy, which is chat to people and make them smile, make them feel good about
Yes.
themselves. But I was always behind the camera and I was always making other people the star of their own life. And I would
Right.
do weddings, I would do events on and photographing the ship, and I would be the invisible one,
Yeah.
being watching everybody else, making them
Interesting.
front and center.
Yes.
And then, but I was forgettable. I wasn't, it turns out, I did leave quite an impression on a lot of people, but I felt like, when am I going to get the chance to be, the star of my own show?
Yes.
And so that's when, after that, I decided, no, I'm going out on my own and I'm going to start my own business and I'm going to learn to be seen. And that's been a
Yes.
huge journey for me.
Well, that's so interesting because those high school years, as much as some people try to forget them, they stay with us
Hmm.
and they continue to impact choices that we make. Unless we, and I go back to my book, unravel, because we can let that stuff go. But if it's still there and we haven't unraveled it to consciously say, this is no longer me, it will continue to impact who we are. So that's a big part, and thank you for sharing, because it's a big part of Unravel You.
It is. And I think we're on the same page, which is why we get on so well, is that, you talk about making the unconscious or the subconscious conscious. And I think that's what the book does, is help people examine some of these things that maybe you haven't thought about for years, but looking at them now from an adult perspective and seeing, is that something that is yours? Is that part of who you truly are? And do you want to keep it? Or is it
Yes,
part of something that's been, you know, put onto you by other people, and you get the opportunity to
yes,
say, no, I'm old enough now, I can make my own decisions, and I'm choosing not to carry that one forward with me. I'm going to let that go.
right. And that is not about me. That was about the person that said it to me, and I'm sending it back.
Hmm.
And I think that's a lot about the shoulds that we all feel like we should do this. But usually that should doesn't originate with us. It originates with someone else.
Amazing. So should we start to draw this to a close? I want to talk just to bring this podcast.
Sure. So you're not going to ask me another question?
I can do if you want. Would you like me to?
Okay, one more
Go on.
question. And
One more question. One
yeah,
more question.
one more question.
So this is from the purple, the rules deck. When you're in an elevator with strangers, how do you feel? Do you speak? And if so, why or why not?
Almost every time. I do, because I think, oh my goodness, I have a captive group of people and I know everybody's feeling very uncomfortable, which is really fun because then I have a chance to break that weird, uncomfortable silence. What about you?
Depends. So what I do is I make eye contact and I smile at people. And that in Britain, I don't know what it's like in Canada, but certainly in the UK, people are very sort of eyes down, very personal space, and sort of
Yeah.
like, well, I can't, nobody can see me. So I smile at them, and if they smile back, then I might start a conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, it makes me smile when they don't, when they're sort of head down like this.
It is funny. Yeah, so the cultural differences and how we just accept those for sure. And even being in an elevator and talking sends most people out of their comfort zone, but it does break that uncomfortable silence.
Definitely.
I do it for just almost pure entertainment.
See how people react.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. Yes. I wish I wish in those moments often, if somebody says something to me, I really wish I was really good at witty comebacks or witty, but normally if somebody else sparks it, then I'm just like polite little good girl comes back. And then I'm like, "Oh, I could have come up with something better than that." But I'm like you. Yeah. Next time. Exactly. But and that says a lot about who you are, that it's those silences are such a waste of an opportunity to connect with people, isn't it?
It is, but especially when we're in that, when you think of it, we're in that contained space, going up or down in a building. It's amazing that it's happening at all. It's sort of worth talking about or talking or connecting in that moment.
Never thought about it like that before, I've got to say.
Yeah. So that's in the Now You're Talking game. That's what I realized. We are all in this together. And we have our own unique experiences, but there's so much overlap in who we are as humans and who we are in human connection and art and this thing called life we're on together. And I created this game and wrote my book to help give people, it comes from my lens, but it's a way of thinking about life a little differently and bringing some fun back and making conversation and connection fun again.
I know how passionate you are about, about all of the, the game, the book, and this podcast, because, I think the reason why you talk a lot about digital screens and that, would you agree that we're more and more disconnected as a society because we're so used to connecting with our screens that we've forgotten the art of conversation. We've forgotten the art of, people feel so socially awkward these days that, having that conversation in a
Yes.
lift, is so much more anxiety inducing today than it would have been perhaps. I don't know whether it's pre-COVID or whether how much it's to do with screens, but which is why I think what you're doing, the mission you're on is absolutely amazing, and really glad to be supporting you on that journey.
Well, thanks, Caroline. And I think I have to believe that it's not gone. I believe that as humans, we want to connect with one another. We may not have learned it as younger humans because of all these devices, but it's innately there. It's part of who we are, and as beings, we want to be in community. And so by bringing generations together and talking through Now You're Talking, it's bringing that community together again. It's bringing the laughter back and putting the screens away and just really fostering that human connection because we need it. The world is so unpredictable. But what is true and what is predictable is love that we have for one another and true friendship and connection. That is as old as time. And when we can embrace that and inspire that through the game called Now You're Talking, that's all I want to do.
Would you mind just sharing quickly? Because I know you've taken the game out to a local community centre recently, haven't you?
Yes, yeah,
Did you want to share?
yes.
What was that like, and what did that do for the community?
Oh, yeah, it was amazing. I just happened to know that my local community center, they have game night every Tuesday. I mean, who knew? I didn't know that. And so Bob and I just arrived at this community center. And although I just had one Now You're Talking game with me, 12 of us sat around, complete strangers, sat around And we just shared stories just by picking up random cards. And so these strangers are no longer strangers. And it was quite magical.
It's amazing. And that's the power of conversation, of sparking those conversations and sharing just a little bit of our humanity with each other.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Oh, well, Caroline, thank you very, very much for joining me today. And I would like you to be on this podcast and talk about your journey, going through your digital journey, your very human journey. And
More than happy to explore that with you on another podcast. But no, it's been
yeah,
brilliant. And thank you for being game and letting me interview you for a change, and letting your listeners learn a little bit more about you.
well, I look forward to turning those tables, and we'll let the listeners know when it's your turn. So thanks again. Thank you for spending time with Caroline and me on Now You're Talking. I hope today's conversation offered a reminder that our stories matter, that even in adversity, there is light waiting to be uncovered, and that connection is the thread that ties us all together. If my journey through writing Unravel You or creating the Now You're Talking board game resonated with you, I encourage you to share this episode with a friend, a colleague, or a loved one. Let it spark a conversation in your own life. Because when we open up and connect, we create space for healing, laughter, and growth. You can continue this journey beyond the podcast. Explore Unravel You, available on Amazon by the end of September 2025. Bring meaningful conversations into your home with the Now You're Talking board game, designed to help families and friends of all ages connect on a deeper level. Find when and where you can buy your copy by visiting nowyourtalkinggame.com. Until next time, remember, stories have power, conversations create connection, and resilience is born in the places we least expect. Let the conversations begin. Now you're talking.